If you carry on down the road you're going in the last few weeks, you will be a fully fledged member of MAGA before we know it.
Yeah, there's absolutely no chance of that. I'm not like Dave Rubin, a giant sellout fraud
Wow.
who changed all of his positions and is totally useless, and it shouldn't even be on here. He's just a waste of space.
Wow. Really? After what all Dave said about coming together?
I evolved. Okay, I'm Dave Rubin 3.0 now, and he doesn't respect that, and he should, because now I get lots of money. So infuriated. Oh, how dare they? This is not what we were promised. We were promised something else. No, again, crickets. Crickets, because it's business as usual. And that's not to absolve the Democrats here and think that, like, yeah, that's why you got to support the Democrats because they're against this. No. There was more Democrats than Republicans who voted against it. I'll grant you that. But the majority of Democratic senators still voted for it. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter if you think that Democrats are going to be better on, say, LGBTQ plus issues, because even if there is these, little teeny provisions inside of it that suddenly affect LGBTQ plus people, that's not enough for them to be like, oh, wait, sorry, we did say that we were effectively going to stand up for LGBTQ plus rights. This seems to directly target LGBTQ plus people, so unfortunately we cannot vote for this until you take that out. We need to have a table discussion about this or anything like that. It's pretty clear that, like, that's not what's going on the right. And so I guess that leads us to grifter versus grifter. Dave Rubin, previously of TYT, who had left the studios. He said he had left for a variety of reasons. He didn't like how Cenk treated Sam Harris in their debate, and he wanted to be able to have discussions, high-level ideas, and talk to people who disagreed with him, but TYT was not all about that. The story from the other side, from Anna, is that he left because he wanted money, and that he demanded that he, Dave Rubin, get a lot of money for his own show. They were a lot smaller back then. They didn't have the money that he was kind of looking for. And so he looked for greener pastures. And where do they have a lot of money? In politics, that happens to be on the right. And so that's when he started aligning with, Dennis Prager, started aligning with getting that sweet, Koch brothers founded think tank funding, that kind of stuff. And so he became an example of basically a previously classical liberal defector who decided to leave the left. He did an entire PragerU about it. And it's kind of funny. If you watch that PragerU, by the way, I'll just show you some highlights. It sounds so much like what both Cenk and Anna are saying right now. Why I love. You know how Anna's making posts? Hold on, we'll put this on.
Trigger warnings on books, movies, skin color.
Movies.
Do you believe in freedom of religion? If you believe these things, you're probably not a progressive. You might think you're a progressive. I used to think I was. My show, The Rubin Report, was originally part of the Progressive Young Turks network. Progressives struck me as liberals, but louder. Progressives were the nice guys. They looked out for the little guy. They cared about women and minorities. They embraced change. In short, who wouldn't want to be a progressive? But over the last couple of years, the meaning of the word progressive has changed. Progressives used to say, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. Not anymore. Banning speakers whose opinions you don't agree with from college campuses, that's not progressive. Prohibiting any words not approved of as politically correct, that's not progressive. Putting trigger warnings on books, movies, music, anything that might offend people, that's not progressive either. All of this has led me to believe that much of the left is no longer progressive, but regressive. This is one of the reasons I've spent so much time on my show talking about the regressive left. This regressive ideology doesn't judge people as individuals, but as a collective. If you're black or female or Muslim or Hispanic or member of any other minority group, you're judged differently than the most evil of all things, a white Christian male. The regressive left ranks minority groups in a pecking order to compete in a kind of oppression Olympics. Gold medal goes to the most offended. Martin Luther.
It's pretty wild, though. But, like, some of the things that are being said, say when Anna went on Glenn Beck's show, and she was like, I mean, you know, I used to consider myself, you know, part of the progressive movement and leftist, but then I started realizing that a lot of the extremism on that side, you know, the max left, they are more concerned with, you know, policing what you say. If you say the wrong thing, you step out of turn. They're like an orthodox religion almost, and that you can't even deviate ever so slightly from, you know, the groupthink, and that immediately that you're not allowed to have freedom to speak your mind and stuff. Or there's this post that she just made. There is no amount of public shaming, harassment, or abuse that will ever get me to say things I don't actually believe. Freedom to speak my mind is 1,000 times more valuable to me than the acceptance of any person or group. It's like it's the same playbook. You're Dave Rubining in real time. Look at this.
A faux moral movement hurling charges of racism, bigotry, xenophobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, and a slew of other meaningless buzzwords at anyone they disagree with. The battle of ideas has been replaced by a battle of feelings, and outrage has replaced honesty. Diversity reigns supreme as long as it's not that pesky diversity of thought. This isn't the recipe for a free society, it's a recipe for authoritarianism.
You see, the left, they're a cult, and they're all about making sure you don't use naughty words, and then they call you all the bad words if you do, and then they'll call you a racist and a xenophobe if you don't agree with every single thing they say, and then you don't have free thought, and it's all about having freedom to be able to say whatever you want, and then that's how you avoid the authoritarianism. Again, this is the shit that you see coming from right-wingers. It's all projection. Like, it's not the left who are trying to ban books right now. It's not the left who are trying to prevent you from reading anything related to LGBTQ plus history, literature, science. All that is being done by the Ron DeSantis fucking right-wing pro-Republican agenda. Or in Canada, you know, the Daniel Smiths and the Conservatives and the UCP, they're the ones who are pushing for the banning of books, or, you know, to do a history revisionism. In Florida, they want to do this whole thing where it's like, well, why don't we just do a different version of us teaching about the history of slavery, and maybe add some things, like perhaps there were useful skills that slaves learned. And in Alberta, Canada, again, where we're talking about the far right being in power, they want to do history revisionism in the form of talking about residential schools, and talking about how, well, were residential schools as horrifying for Indigenous folk as everyone says, or were they actually learning perhaps important skills in some of those schools? They were certainly being taught things like math, English. Is that necessarily? We have to tell the full story if we're going to talk about any aspect of history. We can't only concentrate on the bad, on the things where people think that, like, oh, this was just universally a terrible and horrifying thing, whether it be chattel slavery, whether it be residential schools, and that is coming from the right. So it's sad to see. And so I expected, you know, eventually one point or another, Dave Rubin's already reached out to Anna publicly on Twitter saying that, like, hey, why don't we break the internet? Why don't you come on my show? And I don't think she's going to, because, like, it's just a little too close to home. It's a little too obvious, right? Like, they've already gotten to the point where most people with any self-respect are calling them out, effectively being like, we know what you're doing. Like, I know you don't respect your own audience, because clearly what you're saying is stuff that, like, they should be able to see right past. Like, there's no such thing as trying to be like, well, you're mad at me for, you know, rebranding my studio as the Polymarket cryptocurrency gambling studio. But did you know that Emma Vigland, when she worked for us, uploaded our videos to Facebook? Who owns a small percentage of Facebook? Peter Thiel. So are you going to be mad at her for that? Are you getting mad at Peter Thiel? I don't think so.
The change, I mean, many people saying if you carry on down the road you're going in the last few weeks, you will be a fully fledged member of MAGA before we know it.
I'm not like Dave Rubin.
Including new MAGA enthusiast Cenk Uygur, I said that deliberately to wind him up, the host and founder of the Young Turks, libertarian Dave Smith, host of Part of the Problem, Lindy Lee, the DNC Finance Committee member and advisor, and former woke activist turned YouTuber Amala Ekpunobi. Well, welcome to all of you.
What a wild title. So what are you known for? What do you do? Oh, I am a former woke activist, but no longer. Ex-woke activist.
We're saying if you carry on down the road you're going in the last few weeks, you will be a fully fledged member of MAGA before we know it.
Yeah, there's absolutely no chance of that. And I'm not like Dave Rubin, a giant sellout fraud
Wow.
who changed all of his positions and is totally useless, and it shouldn't even be on here. He's just a waste of space.
Wow. Really? After
Yeah.
after what all
Okay,
Dave
yeah,
said about coming
yeah.
together?
Yeah. Yeah, no, got no interest in coming together with utter frauds like Dave Rubin. So, brother, you telling me that when you were on the Young Turks, you were Mr. Progressive and you agreed with us 100%. Now, all of a sudden, you agree with Trump 100%. You're not saying something nuanced like we are. Hey, you know, when the guy gets shot at.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It's basically like, hey, whoa, no. I have not Dave Rubin. Stop using that as a verb. Stop saying that about me, okay? Our take is different. What we're saying is that we have nuance. We've recognized that MAGA actually is a populist movement. We're a populist movement. We find some entry to work together. What Dave Rubin has done is totally different. We're completely separate.
And he puts his fist up, that's courageous. When he does the McDonald's photo op, and it works fine, no problem, right? If he wants to cut the Pentagon, great. Those are progressive positions. Anti-corruption, progressive position. Anti-war, progressive position. But you change all of your...
About that whole anti-war thing, yikes about the whole Senate vote that just took place. Majority of Republicans voting for it. No pushback at all from MAGA. But it's coming. They're going to do the whole thing soon. It's not like Trump hasn't been in power before, and we can know exactly how MAGA responds to him actually doing the opposite of, you know, populist policies. And if anything, just increasing the concentration of wealth into the hands of the very few. But this time will be different. They've changed.
Ideology overnight, and you expect us to believe that that's real? I don't think it's real at all. And I want an apology from you for all the crazy, outrageous lies that you told about the Young Turks. When is that going to happen, huh?
I love it. I love it. Oh, let them fight. Let them fight.
Wow. When are you going to admit that you changed all your positions for money? Okay. Well, what position do you still have that's in any way a so-called classic liberal? You fraud.
Hey.
Piers, it's barely worth responding to this ridiculous buffoon who's the joke of the industry. But yeah. I will say this, Cenk, I haven't spoken to you in 10 years.
Even right when you're speaking, you're a total fraud.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I just again, we live in precarious, evil times, and it's just nice to have some internet gibberish to enjoy, to wash it all down, you know? I totally forgot to do this intro.
I know you're excited to finally be popular with women, but don't get too high on your own drama.
High on my own drama?
High on my own drama?
Yeah, Piers Morgan being, you know, just the fucking absolute scumfuck of the internet now. This is just gold for him too. He's just like, he's so happy, so absolutely happy. And like, I don't know how he got the two of them to agree to this. Maybe because I think Dave Rubin probably agreed to this because he thought that there's an opening right now. He wants to have that viral moment with Cenk where they come on each other's shows and they can both agree to disagree and be like, well, you said before that I was a grifter, but now it's great to have you, and I guess you saw the light, and that MAGA is the one true path forward, and that we're not Christians. Or no, we are Christians now. But obviously Cenk wants something to do with that, but was fine going on as long as he can just yell at the guy. Will they get in a couple words beyond this? I don't know. I think it's just going to be screaming from here on out.
I don't think he's a fraud or a joke. I think Dave Rubin is, for what it's worth, I think Dave Rubin is one of the most influential and significant voices out there right now. And I admire his honesty about the journey he's been on, Cenk.
Piers, I appreciate that, but you know, the thing is, what Cenk just proved is exactly what everyone in America, and I would say all over the world, is getting over. Nobody wants what he just offered up there. Not only does no one believe it, and he had it prepackaged and ready.
Even Joe Rogan doesn't believe that. Even Joe Rogan was like astute enough to recognize what was going on.
Ready to go, and it's complete drivel. Yes, I sold out. It's just it's so nonsensical. Again, Cenk, I'll gladly send you a signed copy of the book, and you can read all of my thoughts. And if you're anti-corruption and you're anti-war, you should be on the Trump train. But your endless hatred, the division that you sow, calling everyone racist and white supremacist, all of that stuff, it's why you're not respected. But I don't mean to get into the personal side of that. I'm talking about now something that culturally has shifted, and everyone can see the grift that you're up to, trying to sort of dance with the thing. But it's just not necessary, and I don't think that many people will buy it.
Well, Cenk, let me.
You're the grifter. No, you're the grifter. We got the Spider-Man meme.
Let me put to you, Cenk, something that Laura. Hang on, Cenk. Hang on. Cenk, hang on. I'm gonna read you something just to see your reaction. But Laura Loomer called you out on X, as you know, and she said this: "You are the radical left, Cenk Uygur. You're a con artist and an opportunistic grifter who's gotten rich off demonizing President Trump, calling his supporters fascists and Nazis, promoting open borders, glorifying Hamas, and pushing conspiracy theories about Trump for 9 years. If you want forgiveness, get on your filth."
I gotta be honest, like, the gatekeeping right is actually a lot more intense than I thought it ever would be. We got Matt Walsh doing a whole video on how Cenk is a grifter. I had already seen Laura Loomer doing this, right? But I thought Laura Loomer is just kind of in her own sphere. She's kind of like not exactly mainstream conservative, right? Even though, I mean, I guess Trump is seen to that, making sure that she has a prominent position within, you know, his own administration, whatever that's going to be. But as long as that is all going down, simultaneously, it's kind of making it tough for Cenk. You know, you'd think his sales pitch would have been really easy for a lot of right-wingers to be like, oh, so that guy from the Young Turks, the home of progressives, he's pretty much now saying that he wants to work with the populist right, and that he's seen that there's opportunity to you know, maybe not go as aggressive towards MAGA as he was before. It's a little harder than you might think.
Knees and pray to Allah, because you aren't welcome on the right and you aren't ever going to find a redemption arc no matter how hard you pander. And she goes on and on. I'm going to keep calling you out every time you try to move an inch closer to many on the right, because you're too dense and too dumb, because they're too dense and too dumb to decode your subversion, but I'm not.
Could be the right-wing ecosystem is getting too crowded. That could be it. It might be, you know, back in the day, it was a lot, there was a lot of room. There was a lot of fucking food in the trough, you know, everyone could eat, have all their nutrients be sustained. But now, you know, maybe some people are like, hey, you're trying to edge in on my space. This is my grift. And I still think Dave Rubin came on here because he didn't think he was going to be just fucking assaulted out of the gates by, you know, Cenk, but here we are.
So, look, there are lots of people on the right who think that you're on some great move here to, as she puts it, wiggle your way into the middle and over to the right, so you can then poison MAGA with your, as she puts it, subhuman political takes. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Okay, so look, this is, people like Laura Loomer and Dave Rubin are the exact problem. And I think actually somebody else on this panel was part of the solution. That's Dave Smith. And I want to come back to that in a second. So when you have people like Dave Rubin switch all of their positions, what happens is when you go to do nuance and you say, hey guys, hold on, let me explain. Hold on. Yeah. Hey, go pleasure Trump again. Go pleasure Trump again.
Do you know that
he goes from Bernie to Trump and pretends. Come on, brother. Come on, brother.
I tell people what I believe
what do
in,
you
and I'm
believe in? You
upfront and
believed in
honest
something
about
yesterday.
it.
You don't believe in anything today.
Yeah, what position? What position do you
Can
think I hold
question?
that I don't honestly believe?
Can I answer
Name
the
one.
question?
Yeah.
Can I answer the question? Can I answer Trump?
Yeah, what position do I say that I believe that I don't really believe? Go ahead.
Brother, you went on Fox News with Tucker Carlson. You went on Tucker Carlson on Fox News and said gay people, that the fact that the fire department was recruiting gay people was why there was forest fires. You're a national embarrassment, okay?
Right. If anyone
you pleasure those guys for a living.
You can pull up the clip tomorrow if you want. Okay? I was talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that you shouldn't hire people based on their genitals or their sexual orientation. And we now all know that. You have been one of the prime pushers of all of this neo-racism. I believe in meritocracy, that whether you're going to be a doctor or a firefighter,
neo-racism,
or a basketball player or anything else, you should be hired on your qualifications, not.
Yeah, I mean, it's just dumpster fire all around. I have no idea why Cenk out of the gates is just fucking like, you know, he's well aware that Dave Rubin is a openly gay man, just to be like, hey, well, why don't you go back to pleasuring Trump? You fucking pleasure Trump. And then in the other direction, this is nonsense. The fact that the right now have become like, they've become the scolds, you know, the anti-woke scolds, the virtue signalers, the snowflakes. They're all now trying to be like, excuse me, all right, you are the neo-racists. You don't understand how DEI is actually inverse racism. It directly targets white people, and all of you anti-white racists, I need to hold you to account, all right? I need to make sure that you are well exposed for who you are.
Your genitals or sexual orientation or skin color. That's actually America. So you can keep trying here.
Yeah, finish your point. Then I'll go to Dave Smith.
Listen, yes. When this country desperately needs to unite against the establishment on things we all agree on. So things like all the populists hate corruption. All the populists hate war. By the way, Dave doesn't. Dave will demand that we start every war for Israel and pay for all of Israel's war. So he's been establishment on that all along. But when you go to say, hey, can we get an agreement on things that we agree on? the left pushes back because they're so afraid. They got traumatized by the Dave Rubins in the world. They're like, oh, if you take one step, not even in their direction, if you allow the right wing to take a step in our direction, they're worried that you're going to be a fraud like Dave Rubin and change all of your positions overnight. So my friends on the left, do not get scarred by this fraud of a man. There are other people like Dave Smith, who
let me bring in
is
Dave
a
Smith.
libertarian. We disagree on other issues.
Let me bring in
but
Dave
we
Smith.
can actually unite on the things that we care about.
Let me bring in Dave
In
Smith.
order to unite, you got to get past the frauds like Dave
All
Rubin.
right, Dave Smith, welcome back to Uncensored. Obviously, things have kicked off. I actually thought there might have been a coming together moment, and not the way it went, but it's gone the opposite way. Let's just take what Dave Rubin was saying, and then.
Here, so you can be honest. Come on. You're so happy right now. This is it. This is exactly what you want. This is your whole show. This is why you boast every single time that you've got like the most popular show on the internet now. Because you or your producer, who's ever behind the scenes, knows how to make these clips, knows how to be like, hey, if we can get this person together with this person together, they'll just scream. It doesn't even matter what they're saying. Just as long as they're both screaming at the same time so you can't hear anybody, and then you're just fucking, online wrestling nonsense. No actual political discussion taking place.
How Cenk responded. But it seems to me that this big tent thing of Trump, I mean, it's very real. His popularity in America has never been.
Oh, everyone sucks on this. This is like a full panel where everyone's shit. Everyone, every single square, I think. Yeah. Jerry Springer. Yeah. He's the Jerry Springer of the internet and knows exactly what made Jerry Springer famous and what exactly. There's a reason why people tune in, myself included. I can't look away. I'm like, what? Dave Rubin and Cenk are going to be accusing each other?
Higher than it is today. He's got an incredible mandate. The Republicans basically now are in charge of absolutely everything. You've got everyone who formally distanced themselves in 2016 racing down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring and so on. I mean, it's a real opportunity, but it's undeniably an extraordinary coming together of people from all types of political views and so on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say,
that's actually really unpleasant to listen to, isn't it? I mean, the idea that a woman who her only crime was to try and raise money for a pretty hopeless candidate, and obviously that didn't work. But the idea that immediately she raises criticism, legitimate and in my view entirely correct criticism of the party, she is abused in that kind of horribly misogynistic and disgusting manner. What does that tell you about where we are?
Sure. Well, I would say, Piers, we have a living, breathing example of that happening on this panel right now, which is that what she just illustrated there is a bunch of attacks on her character and her behavior and saying awful things, and you can describe them as misogynistic and all those things. Look at everything that Cenk just said to me. These are just attacks not on my beliefs, but on my character, which, again, he couldn't illustrate one thing that I say that I don't believe. I woke up very early to the excesses of the left, what we now know as wokeness. I came out against identity politics, and
You woke up to wokeness. My word. Wow, that sounds transcendent.
I wanted to return America to what it was founded on, which was individual liberty and judging everyone by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. The progressive movement is wildly attached to something.
It's not what America was founded on. You're just misappropriating the words of Martin Luther King Jr. Again, the talking points that you get from being deeply within the Dennis Prager inner circle, which is just, again, used to uphold all the structures of power, just to hold up white supremacist structures, capitalist structures, make sure everything maintains the way it is. Every person should work hard. It's an easy sell, too, because, yeah, of course, who's going to sit across from you across the table if you're like, what's your philosophy? My philosophy is that people should work hard. Oh. I gotta find things wrong with that. That's it. People should work hard, and if you work hard and you play by the rules, you should get all of the benefits that come from that. And then it's like, well, it doesn't really feel like that happens in life, though. You know why that is? That's because of big government. That's because they are basically taking your money in the form of taxation and giving it to the welfare queens. That's because of immigrants. Yep, immigrants, lazy workers, trans kids. Did I mention trans kids? Those are the reasons why. But otherwise, if if it wasn't for those things and you worked hard, you would get everything that you deserve.
That brings everyone back to ancient hatred. So when you leave the left, as both of the ladies just pointed out, you will get unending hatred, usually having nothing to do with what you believe or you say. And again, I would just have anyone rewind the video and listen to the nonsense that Cenk said about me to prove that it still exists.
Aw, Dave's so hurt. He's got to keep bringing it back to that. They've moved on. We're like 20 minutes past the start of this, but he's still going back to, yeah, but if you listen, Cenk said mean things. He attacked not the quality of my character. Not the content.
Well, Cenk, I mean, you did launch a very aggressive ad hominem attack on Dave Rubin off the top, which was your decision to do that. But in relation to his specific question, Cenk, can you say one thing that Dave Rubin believes in today that you don't think he believes?
Donald Trump has YMCA. Isn't there a firefighter in there? There's a cop and an Indian? I'm not sure.
Hold on. look, there's a couple of super important things to say here. First of all, in answering your question, look, Dave doesn't believe in any of the positions he believed in. Before he thought he believed in affirmative action. He believed in this. Okay, affirmative action. And now he says it's the worst thing in the world.
Affirmative action. I evolved. I used to believe in identity politics.
I love how I keep saying that. I evolved. Come on. I'm the 4th generation, 4.0. I learned. Read the book. Did you buy it?
So you changed.
Like
you asked me to say.
Yes,
why can't you
asked me to name something you changed on? I named it.
You're telling me I don't believe what I'm saying right now. You're calling me a sellout.
Did you believe the Russian propaganda you were paid for?
You are an
Did you believe the Russian propaganda you were paid for?
He's so mad. Don't you dare bring up Tenant. Don't you dare bring up Tenant. We don't speak of that.
Paid, Cenk, I was
you were
not paid
$100,000 a video.
Oh my God, you clown. I would recommend anyone look into that to find out a bit more on that. Cenk, how much when you took 1 mil from Jeffrey Katzenberg, what did that do for you?
And did I change my positions at all? Not 1%. Not 1%. Okay, can I just address the core of the problem here?
What position do you think I hold that I cannot explain my beliefs on?
Jeffrey Katzenberg is in favor of... Okay, Jeffrey Katzenberg is a good guy, but he's in favor of Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris. I was against all...
Why are we here? I'd be feeling that. Hey, Pierce, can we just come back for like a different one? You could just let them just run the show, because I don't know. This feels like awkward. It's kind of like going to someone else's like Thanksgiving dinner, and then they all start fighting each other, and then like people are looking at you for like, what's your opinion on this? And it's like, it's not my fight, right? I hope they don't divorce.
3. What part of that is unclear? So look, Piers, there's 3 different
hang on.
Politics for a second.
Cenk, here's my point. The point Dave Rubin is making is, why shouldn't he be allowed to go on an evolution of his views? And why does that mean that right now you can say to him, as you did, you don't believe anything you're saying or believe now, when actually it's completely possible that he 100% believes everything he now says because he's changed his mind? Why can't he do that? And why don't you believe him?
I think that the left is scarred by people like Dave Rubin, who had a complete change. For example, Tulsi Gabbard goes from total progressive to total right-winger. On the other hand, RFK Jr. didn't go to a total right-winger. He still believes the things that he believes about the environment, about housing, about corruption, etc. So you have to be able to distinguish between the people who are doing it professionally, as I hate the word grift, but whatever it is that you want to call it, and the people who have genuine disagreements and genuine nuance in their opinions. So, for example, guys, there's 3.
I'll give him this. Cenk is playing in hard mode right now. This is a genuinely difficult position to try and take and also use and weaponize, because it's really hard to call out Dave Rubin and be like, Dave Rubin, you're a fucking scumfuck. You're a sellout. You basically changed all your political beliefs for money, and that's why you're a piece of shit. You have no actual credentials. You're a vacuous shell, a husk of a human being. And then it's like, aren't you kind of doing the same thing right now, though? No, I'm different. See, because what I'm doing is not exactly changing my political beliefs. It's a nuanced take on finding the alliances that can be found within the populist left and the populist right. So I'm actually trying to play both sides so that I always come out on top. That's different. That's a little trickier.
3 different branches of each party. There is the radical right, radical left, there's the populist left and populist right, and then there's the establishment of both parties.
Okay.
I despise the establishment with every fiber of my being. And I've been doing that same exact program for over 22 years, longest running show in internet history. And we've never wavered on that. But now the radical left, unfortunately, is doing what you're worried about, Piers, that the minute that they see anything where you say, I agree with the right, when they agree with us on something like anti-war, they go, oh my God, hold on.
Which, by the way, is just not true, right? Like, every leftist I know who actually has any kind of credentials, say, like Majority Report or Amy Goodman, or, as soon as there was a withdrawal from Afghanistan and the illegal occupation of Afghanistan was coming to an end, even though, yes, it has resulted in obviously terrifying conditions, in large part due to the fact that the United States and other countries in the West are unwilling to ever work with, what they see as the terrorist organization being in charge of the government of Afghanistan. It's one of those things where they will be fine, invading and destroying elements of a country and then leaving the power vacuum, and the power vacuum becomes filled with the Taliban, but there's still the problem with the civilians of that area experiencing mass starvation, one of the largest child starvation that's taking place on human history, and then doing nothing about it, and then, being like, well, we can't negotiate with them or give them aid because we'd be giving aid to the Taliban, so unfortunately our hands are tied. The mass starvation will continue until the next time a superpower decides to invade them, because it seems to be the final boss of superpowers. They love invading Afghanistan. But everyone, even though Trump was the one doing that, was like, yeah, it's a good thing, actually, that Trump is announcing that he's going to, stop the U.S. occupation of Afghanistan. That's good. It's bad that he's trying to do a coup in Chile. That's bad. It's bad that he's assassinating generals and increasing drone strikes. Those are bad things. But it's not necessarily like just because it's Trump, I have to hate it because I'm in the cult. It's like I don't give a fuck about the labels. I don't give a fuck about Democrat. I don't give a fuck about Republican. Okay, I could care less. Same thing with Canadian politicians. I don't care about the liberal label, the conservative label, even the NDP label. It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what exactly are the policies and how they're impacting people. That's it. And if it happens to come from someone I'm not a fan of, well, I'll just be like, oh, okay, well, at least that's a good thing that happened under that shitty person.
Let me finish the thought. Let me finish the thought. And what people then say is, oh no, he's going to pull a Dave Rubin because these guys get paid to go fully right wing and then they'll throw their own people under the bus. So they'll pick a gay guy like Dave to throw gay people under the bus. If you see me going after Muslims, if you see me going after people that I've always supported, then you have an issue. But part of the, and this is not a pivot, guys. We've been fighting the radical left for 2 straight years now because they say absurd things like, hey, if the right wing agrees with us, we shouldn't do it anyway. We had somebody leave the
You've been fighting the radical left for 2 straight years. I didn't know that. That's wild. Yeah. Well, now we know.
Network because they said everyone on the right wing is racist. If you agree with the right wing in anything, even if it's things that we agree on, that makes you racist, and it hurts.
When did that happen? Can someone get me that clip? I don't remember when there was a person who came on the show to say that if you agree with a single thing that the right has done, you're by definition a racist. I don't remember that. I do remember them having a fucking complete meltdown over the issue of inclusionary language and trans people and not listening to any people either. Friends, colleagues, LGBTQ+, activists or individuals or content producers who are all telling them, hey, by the way, this is kind of fucked up. This is the take that y'all had like 6 months ago. Maybe you shouldn't go down this road. It really seems like you're more willing to burn every bridge possible than just admit that you were wrong once. But sure.
Black bodies.
All right.
See, that's absurd.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Of course it is. I mean, the irony is that you and Dave Rubin probably agree with a lot more than you're prepared to ever admit. You just don't think his views are sincere because he's changed his mind on a number of positions. By the way, I used to think I was liberal.
It's not just that, Pierce. He lied about us 20 times
I have
over.
nothing in common with modern woke liberals. Zero. Let me bring Dave Smith back in. Let me bring Dave Smith back in. Dave, look, this is part of the problem.
I don't care about the other ones. I'm only here for the fighting. I'm here for the slop.
Is just simply true. And again, there's a living, breathing example of it right here.
Well, let me bring Amara in on that because actually, Jake, I'll come back to you. Hang on. Let me bring in Amara in on that because I've had the same experience. Bloody murder of a man, of a husband, a father of 2 kids.
Oh my God, you're doing the thing. And he also had a mother, that as well. 48%, that is shockingly high for a questionnaire where I think the vast majority of people would have been like, am I being recorded? Yes, you are. Oh, then bad, yeah, sure. Bad, whatever you want.
Midtown Manhattan is acceptable because he happened to be an executive at a healthcare company and they disagree with some of the policies. I mean, if it comes to that, then if that is taken and extrapolated across the country, that's the future generation now in America. They think that murdering executives from companies whose opinions you don't like is now acceptable. America's in a very dark place.
This is the guy who says that the guy who, killed Jordan Neely is a hero. That's Piers Morgan's position. He wrote a whole article actually about it. He was so impressed with the strangulation of a schizophrenic homeless black man that he had to write an entire article in Newsweek about how the left have lost their minds because they're venerating Luigi, and how the right are honorable and good because they're venerating, again, someone who strangled a homeless schizophrenic black man to death on a subway, who was scared, frightened, and asking for food before becoming irate.
Well, I can basically give you Cenk's answer without the but. There's no but there. It doesn't matter what you're aggrieved about. Everyone is aggrieved about something. Everyone has been wronged by somebody, a former employer, a health insurance agent, a doctor, a former boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it might be. You cannot take the law into your own hands, period. If you wonder why so many people think that violence is okay, again, I would only point at the progressives who for the last decade have been calling everybody racists and bigots and saying this country's run by white supremacists and capitalism's evil and the very founding of America's evil. And then they telling them that climate change is going to cause the world to end in 6 years and a litany about, and that their genitals.
Wow. So, I mean, like if you wanted just a speed run of takes that are correct, Dave Rubin just laid them all out for you. that yes, the climate change is an existential threat that threatens to destabilize society and ruin and destroy a lot of life on Earth. That part is true. Capitalism is evil, and he's trying to equate, by the way, if you want to humanize someone who does vast evil, someone who gets paid tens of millions of dollars to be able to operate within a private health insurance company that denies 1/3 of the claims of their own clients to the benefit of their shareholders, well, then start saying, people want to murder him, and then they want to murder their own, ex-boyfriends or ex-girlfriends. Totally equatable. Murder is always wrong, no matter who it is, and even if the people have been wronged by someone else, even if people do evil or torture or violence on a mass scale, if it's done within a corporate structure, then it's totally okay.
Don't match their gender. All of these things have led to a certain psychosis in young people that's also connected to the endless doom scrolling on the phone and social media.
You found a way of blaming this on trans people. I mean, you got there. So what do you think about the fact that a recent poll showed that nearly half of all youth are not upset or think it's fine that the CEO was murdered? And it's like, well, this happens to be because a large amount of them believe in gender ideology, and that has ruined their minds.
Which made everyone much more antisocial than social. But if you tell everybody that the boogeyman's coming to get you everywhere at all times, and you live in a horrible place with evil people who want to kill you, then you are going to have a mass mental health problem, and it's going to lead to people doing horrible things. But the second you do what Cenk just did there, which is so, okay, we've got all kinds of problems, well, then congratulations. Anyone can go out there and kill anybody because everybody's got a reason to be aggrieved. We are a nation of law and order or not. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Smith, I actually agree with that. I think the moment you equivocate when you talk about something like this, you are opening the floodgates for everyone to equivocate. Whatever their cause is, whatever their gripe is, the moment you start saying, well, that murder was terrible, but, in other words, trying to find an explanation for why it's not as shocking and heinous and disgusting as it obviously was, I think you're on a very slippery slope, whatever it is.
I would certainly agree.
Weird, Piers, because, oh, wow, look at that. New York Post. An opinion piece by Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan, the left's response to Daniel Penny and Brian Thompson cases expose their sick hypocrisy. You wrote a whole article about this. That's how moved you were. You decided, oh, look at that. He's just a young, friendly, happy, shaking hands. Just seems like a great person. Committing murder there. Oh, but then look at that. Evil. Scary. Yeah. Even then you can't take a bad photo of this kid. Like, what the fuck?
And I've seen a disturbing amount of it online and stuff like that.
Killing. I gotta say, killing. He
Look,
was
obviously, it's horrible to execution style kill somebody, and the whole premise of Western civilization and the Enlightenment and everything that we should consider good and advanced in civilization is that even if that guy was guilty of horrendous crimes, well, he gets a judge in a robe and a lawyer in a suit, and he gets to present his defense before he is convicted by a judge. And also, no matter what side of it is just chaos and an awful people who feel that way, we should look at a poll like that and have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And I don't think that, I don't think Dave is completely off. I think there has certainly been a bunch of toxic garbage that has come to dominate university life that is very bad for young people's minds. I will say, though, that as a society, we have put the young people in this country in an awful position in many ways where they do have legitimate grievances. Now, I'm not saying that justifies, supporting anybody being executed like this. But the truth is that the big banks and the government got in business to prop up this college, which is essentially a government program at this point. The loans are given out by the government after many years of them being guaranteed by the government. We've cattle carded these young people into going into six figures in debt while they learn, for the most part, garbage. They come out of this, they're working at Starbucks, they're 150 grand in debt. My grandfather, in a much poorer, much less advanced economy, could go wait on a line and get a job after high school and support his wife who didn't have to work and raise their kids and have 2 cars and own a home. There is simply no path toward that for a huge portion of young people. And if we don't address that and we don't try to fix this situation, I think we're going to be looking at this very disturbing reality where more and more young people kind of celebrate the person who just went out and made from their perception, somebody who was like in the establishment or in the winning class, made them pay. I'd also add very quickly that in the middle of that, just to add insult to, oh, that's why it's okay.
I feel like this is becoming a common response to now. Your words are violence now. Your actions are violence. Your silence is violence.
Yep.
This CEO.
I was just curious if there's any more Rubin.
Say that again, right? Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry.
Otherwise, it's just like, oh, we're hearing all the talking points. The Fox News talking points are just being repeated by every single person. I noticed when Dave Rubin got really mad, he just started regurgitating as many fucking, queued up sound bites as he had, one after the other. It was just like rapid fire. That was a great defense. Good blood, nonsense, zero productivity. This is Jerry Springer. Political Jerry Springer. That's 100% what it is. It's trash. Hot, flaming trash. I'm glad we got to see some screaming at each other, though. That was supremely funny. You can always tell when Dave Rubin gets really, really mad. It was also kind of embarrassing, though, that for some reason, I'm assuming it's the person who's working the audio board was keeping his volume down whenever Cenk was like speaking, and so it always seemed like at first you just saw Dave Rubin in the background being like, ideas, and then like they'd finally give him the opportunity to speak, and then his volume would go way up. It's like, well, that's why at the end of the day, this guy, he's just a liar and a grifter. I evolved. Okay, I'm Dave Rubin 3.0 now, and he doesn't respect that, and he should, because now I get lots of money, and it's great. It's so much fun, and he wants to become me, but he can't. I guess for all of those holding their breath for the Cenk, Dave Rubin, reunion, it doesn't seem to be in the works. The Anna Kasparian one might happen, but I feel these two are not becoming frenzies anytime soon. But yeah, classic.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This independent series is made entirely possible thanks to our patrons. It was produced by Anna Loves Riley, Arian McCarthy, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Celine, Jimmy Sombrero, Multimongi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet 185, Richard Bohem, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, and Words Greenwood. Not to mention all the other patrons you now see on screen. We couldn't have done this show without you. If you can help support the show, please check out patreon.com/the Serfs to unlock bonus secret episodes as well as get the content before anyone else.